Hello friends, SentinalH here, and welcome back to our ChromatiCraft tutorial series. In this episode, we're going to be going over one of the most important blocks and therefore crafting recipes in ChromatiCraft, the crystal runes. So you can see here on this wall, all 16 of the crystal runes. Each one of these rune blocks represents one of the colored elements of magic that you're going to need to find. There's a pylon for each one of these, and in order to progress in ChromatiCraft, you have to find one of each, and you're going to need to craft all of these at some point, and in rather large supply. You're going to need a lot of these rune blocks. Now, when Shiva and I showed you this little crystal shrine structure that spawns in the world, you remember that you can get rune blocks from this. And you'll find random colors in these, but you really need to be able to craft your own, because you're not going to get nearly enough rune blocks from places like that to satisfy your need for runes. Thankfully, every single one of these can be crafted, and it's a pretty darn simple recipe. So previously we talked about crystal and stone, which was a nice sort of black stone blocks that you can craft in ChromatiCraft that you use for a lot of stuff, and you actually use that to craft these runes. So if we look at this casting table, we'll find the recipe. If you take crystal and stone, 8 of it, and surround it, you surround a crystal shard with that, you will get a crystal rune block of that color shard. And this goes for all of the colors. And this is how you get your crystal runes. Now, we're going to talk about boosted crystals later, and those give you far more runes, but that's for another time. Just remember that take a crystal shard of the color rune that you want, put it in the middle of your casting table, and surround it with 8 crystal and stone. Then take your elemental manipulator and whack it, and that will give you a crystal rune block. Now, let me just briefly go over some of the many uses. You're going to need these when you upgrade your casting to the 2nd tier. Right now, with our casting table, we've upgraded this. This casting table here is at basic level, and after you've casted enough stuff, the casting table gets this little yellow diamond, but it's got a circle around it with a line through it, and that's because you need a casting room around it in order to do this. Again, casting room, I've already got a video about that. Look earlier in this playlist and you'll find the casting room video. It hasn't changed. The way you build it is the same. But once you upgrade to a casting room, you're going to start using these runes to craft higher level stuff. And you have to place the runes in the floor in a certain pattern, and that'll let you craft higher end stuff. So that's one use for these. When you start using the pylons for your crafting, you're also going to need these rune blocks in order to build repeaters, and we're going to go over that in the future. Don't worry about any of it at the moment, but you're going to need runes for that. Runes are used in many multi-block structures, so you can't get away from the rune blocks. You're going to need them, and you're going to need a lot of them. So there's 16. They are Kuro, which is the black one. Karmer is the red one. Then Kajani, which is the green one. Well, the dark green one. Ruskia is the brown one. Then Nilla is the blue one. Zambaru is the purple one. Vidali is the, what would you call that? Turquoise one? Argia, it's like a very, very light blue or grayish color, I think. Ikri is the gray one, I think, actually. So this would be light gray then. I'm not sure. I think that's it. Ruzova is pink. Asvesti is the lime green. Katrino is yellow. Galazio is like the sky blue. Curari is sort of like a different purple, like a magenta or a lighter purple. I don't know. Portacali is orange, and Tahara is white. Okay, so you're gonna have to get all of these. There's no way around it. So eventually you'll have to find all of the crystal colors so that you can get all the runes. Now, runes don't really do anything on their own. They are used to augment and affect and be used in other things. One of the things that crystal runes can actually augment are the Lumen Turrets that we discussed from the previous episode. And a thank you to Dragon for reminding me that this was a thing so that I could talk about it. I forgot to talk about it before, but it actually works out quite well to talk about it now. So if you remember from the last episode, you can build these Lumen Turrets that will shoot at mobs. They're very good for early to mid-game defense against mobs. They're extremely good. They fire really quickly, and while they only deal 2 damage a shot, they fire so fast that they can kill pretty much any mob unless it's got high regeneration. Anyway, if you place these on top of runes, they will be boosted and have different effects. Only these 7 runes work. You'll know if a rune doesn't work, like Katrina doesn't have anything. If I take a turret and I place it on top of a Katrina rune, you'll notice that for all the other ones, there are colored particles rising out of the turret. Not for this one. That is your clue that this rune does nothing for the Lumen Turret. And it doesn't. Katrina does nothing. So what do these 7 runes actually do for the Lumen Turret? It's cool because they're actually related to the effects that the runes give you. For instance, Nilla runes and Nilla crystals, which are the blue ones, dark blue ones, I guess, they give you night vision. I'm actually using a Nilla pendant so that I can have night vision so that it's not dark down here. And for the turret, what that does is it makes it so that the turrets no longer need line of sight to the sky. Because if you remember, if I were to break this rune now and place a spider here, none of the turrets will fire at the spider because they don't have a view of the sky. But if I place this back, that one is the only one that will shoot. Because that one now has night vision, basically. The Nilla crystal rune is giving it night vision, essentially. Now, a cool thing about these runes when interacting with Lumen Turrets is that you can stack them. So if I were to put this Nilla rune underneath the green Kijani rune, now suddenly the Lumen Turret is being, it has, both colors of particles coming out. They actually stack. And we could probably go further and we could stack a Zambaru under that. And now there's 3 different colors coming out of it. So if you stack all of them, then you'd get all the effects. Now there is one more block that I forgot to grab. And we're not going to talk about it yet because you're not going to get it for a long time, for a bit later. And that's this multi-chromic rune. And I just wanted to make sure if this actually works. Yes, it does. So you can stack all of these runes on top of each other, or you can eventually you'll get this multi-chromic rune, which is basically all of them. And if you put it under a Lumen Turret, it gives you all the benefits. That's pretty neat. So you can stack these in order to get multiple effects. So what do these do? Well, Kijani, it turns out, actually causes the Lumen Turret to attack neutral mobs. So if I place down a pig, these turrets are not going to attack the pig because it's neutral, it's not hostile. But if we power up the Kijani crystal turret, it's attacking the pig. And the same for villagers. Now he's safe. Let's make him not safe. Kijani! So if you want your turrets to kill neutral mobs like pigs and other animals and villagers, place a Kijani rune under it. And that's this dark green one. Now, I'm not 100% sure what the Zambaru crystal rune does. Dragon thought that maybe it caused it to attack other players, but neither of us have done any testing on that. However, it's interesting to note that the Zambaru crystal is the one that gives you experience, so I don't know what it does. It might increase the experience drop on the mobs. Probably not. Well, maybe in the future if I can figure out what this does. I mean, if I figure out what this does, I will tell you. But at the moment, I don't know what Zambaru Crystal Rune actually does for the Lumen Turret. It might target other players. I have no idea. All I know is that Kijani targets neutral mobs. So Zambaru must do something else. Now, Argia is another difficult one to figure out. We think that it buffs the attack speed on the turret. But honestly, turrets attack so quickly anyway that it's hard to really test that because, I mean, just look how quickly these things die under the Argia onslaught. But then if I go to, let's say, just a standard one, like the Kijani, which doesn't do anything special except attack neutral mobs. If I place down just as many spiders, they die just as quickly. So again, I don't really know what Argia crystals do. the actual crystals in the world and the potion crystals for Argia inflict weakness on mobs, right? But like if I grab this and I place this down and I put a mob down, the spider would have weakness. But I can't tell, you know. It's not got any like the debuff things on it, like any other. Oh, there it does. You can see it. Okay, it's got the little swirls. It's almost impossible to see. Stop moving. But he's got the little swirls on him that represent weakness from that Argia crystal. The question is whether this does the same. Nope. I don't see any of those little swirls. So I don't think that this is applying weakness. If it's boosting attack speed, it's just so fast anyway that I can't tell. So I'm not 100% what Argia does. Now Rizova, this is a really good one. What Rizova does is greatly increase the damage output of these Lumen Turrets. Lumen Turrets by default deal 2 damage per shot, but Rizova deals 7. Well, it deals a lot of damage. Kills mobs a lot quicker. See, it's chunking it for its health. It's taking out 3.5, which is 7 damage. So Rizova crystal runes greatly buff up the damage. Greatly. They're great. Now, as Vesti crystal runes, we actually have to go upstairs, up into the up there to test. So we'll come back to this in a moment. Portacali runes. The Portacali crystals give you fire resistance. When you power up a Lumen Turret with a Portacali crystal rune, it lights things on fire. Oh, come on. They're running for cover. See? So, Portacali crystal rune under a Lumen Turret makes that Lumen Turret light the mobs on fire to deal damage over time and extra fire damage, which is pretty sweet. So that's what the orange one does. Now, if I fly up, I'll show you what the lime green one does, the Asvesti rune. And it's dark up there, so let me just make it day with some NEI goodness. If I come up here, I set up a test for this earlier, and it does work, and it does hold up, and I'm pretty sure this is what it does. So here I have a Lumen Turret, right? If I break this Asvesti crystal rune, and I place a spider right here, the Lumen Turret will shoot it. If I place the spider over here, the Lumen Turret will shoot it. If I place the spider here, Lumen Turret doesn't shoot it. If I place it over here, the Lumen Turret does not shoot the spiders at this tree. Okay? However, if I go ahead and place... Oh, darn it, I didn't bring one with me. Okay, let's just grab one. Asvesti crystal rune. Now it's shooting it. So Asvesti increases the range on Lumen Turrets. Extremely useful. Because by default, Lumen Turret's range is a little short. Put an Asvesti on there, and I think it doubles the range. Not quite sure. I mean, the normal turret can fire that far. And so, I don't know if it doubles the range, but it does increase the range a nice amount. I don't know if putting more of them under it does anything extra. Apparently not. Nope. So you can't stack multiple Asvesti runes to get multiple range increases. But that's what the Asvesti rune, the light green one, does for the Lumen Turret. It increases the range. Interestingly, if we go over here, Asvesti potion crystals give you a jump boost. So it increases the range of your jump. And this increases the range of the Lumen Turret. So they kind of line up the overall effect. Because every single crystal rune, and therefore every single color of magic in ChromatiCraft, has a different effect. They do different things. Zambara is about XP, Nilla is night vision, Ruskia is for food saturation, Kijani is poison, although for turrets here, it doesn't poison mobs, it targets neutrals. So they all do cool things. And you're gonna eventually remember what each of these colored crystals do, what each of the runes is for, and basically what type of power each of those each color has. But at the moment, you really don't need to remember it, especially if you have NEI, because you could just check. Although I think that information will be obscured if you don't have the proper progression. But anyway, that's what these runes do for Lumen Turrets, and you're gonna need runes, so craft a bunch of them. Basically have a couple of each sitting around if you can help it. So that's it for this episode. I needed something quick and easy that I could do. So I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I hope that it's helpful, especially in regards to the Lumen Turrets. If anyone knows what Zambaro runes and Argia runes do for Lumen Turrets, if you know exactly, I don't know if we could maybe check the GitHub or something, check the code and see if it'll, tell us. I don't know how to do that. So if anyone can tell me definitively what those two do, then I'll put it in the description, and I'll put I can't put an annotation in anymore because they're gone, but I'll add it at the beginning of the next video what those two do. But I know what all the other ones do. So thank you so much for watching. Like and comment the video if you enjoyed it. Join our Discord if you're interested. You can support the channel via Patreon or a direct donation via links in the description if you'd like to do that. So thank you again. I'm SentinalH. I'm signing out.